Hello and welcome everybody to this edition of Google Plus Business Spotlight, show where we talk about how businesses are using Google Plus. Although today we have a very special episode for you. We're bringing in Bruce Clay from Bruce Clay Internet Marketing Inc. or Bruce Clay Inc. Correct me there if I completely botched the name, but it is Bruce Clay, well known. I mean, one of the original internet marketing SEO companies out there, extremely knowledgeable in the field. So what we're going to do this year, we're starting to wind down 2014. We're going to talk a little bit about, first off, Bruce, give you guys an introduction to the company, and also get into some of the things that businesses need to be thinking about for this upcoming year. It's going to be a fantastic discussion, lots and lots to learn, and encourage you guys definitely to be leaving comments in the event, and we will do our best to bring them up. So, as always, I'm joined by Ben Fisher, who is pretty much going to lead today's discussion. I'm just going to be here back and forth doing my thing with the comments and the camera. So, how you doing, Ben?
Hey, good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing? Happy Wednesday. And yeah, we are definitely honored to have Bruce here with us today. Bruce and I have known each other for quite a few years. And I think I want to start off with, for those of you who are not familiar with who Bruce is. Bruce, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of background on kind of how you got started basically in the SEO industry and a little bit about how you built your business.
Sure. Very happy to do that. For those of you who don't know, the company was started in January of 1996. That's 3 years before Google. 96 is back when Al Gore was inventing the internet. Quite a while back. And I was one of the unique people that didn't enter it through web design or any other kind of like internet build a website kind of activity. Our focus right from the beginning was actually on web ranking, getting sites ranked. I had prior experience doing application optimization. I had run 4 companies. I was looking to consult. Which is, by the way, how it got its name, Bruce Clay Inc., because I thought I would just be a consultant, working at home and taking longer vacations than normal and enjoying myself. And I really hadn't planned on this industry taking off like it had. I built a site, people started hiring me because my site ranked right away. Back then it was InfoSeek, that was a big one. InfoSeek was spectacular, and until Google came around, it was rather easy to get sites ranked, seriously, because nobody was optimizing anything, so a little bit went a long way. We ended up hiring a couple people, raised our price, had to hire more people, had to move out of the house, and now we're on 5 continents, and I'm negotiating 2 more regions. So it is been an expansion that has lasted over these 19 years. I'd say probably most of the growth that was rapid is in the last probably 12 years, 10 certainly. And it actually shows we are a quality-centric business, and therefore it's more of a boutique kind of an environment rather than having 200 employees. We kept raising our price and doing nothing but quality work. And as we did that, we found that the market demand grew naturally. And we've actually been in the Inc. 5000 now 8 consecutive years, which is just about a record.
Congratulations.
But it's really driven by the demand. And I think that where we're at right now, this particular moment in time, we are seeing a radical multi-layer shift. It's going to totally disrupt 2015. It's already disrupting the way people handle websites today. I think we're going to see a massive change coming up. But how the business grew is it grew out of demand. If people needed more, we did more. If they didn't need more, we were fortunate enough to be in a good position.
Yeah, and I remember back in those days, but I personally started back in 1994, And remember when Google first came out, and you're right, I mean, it was really easy back in those days to get a web page to rank. I mean, it ranked. I mean, it wasn't even about getting links at that point. It was more about just doing marketing in general. You were reaching out to people, you were trying to get traffic, and, you know, then getting on top of web crawler and AltaVista and, you know, Go.com.
Right. Don't forget Excite, Mike.
Oh, of course.
All the biggies.
Yes.
Back then, we actually published that search engine relationship chart, for those of you that remember that, because there were like 20 different search engines, and they many of them took input from multiple other search engines, mostly because the cost of crawling was so expensive. They just sucked in content from other people's indexes, and you lost track of where all the data came from. So we invented, I think, actually what would be our industry's first infographic 15 years ago.
And that was the hierarchy of needs, right?
Well, it was actually even before that. It was a chart with a whole bunch of bubbles with arrows between them about how data flowed.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
That was everywhere. And in fact, when we published it, we did it for ourselves because we needed to know. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool. Let's publish it. And we published it as an 8.5 by 11 PDF because that was the size at the time of a piece of paper. And we put the PDF up and published it to a couple of spots. And we had over 300,000 downloads within the first couple months. It was every cubicle wall everywhere that was in our industry had my name up on the wall. It was great. Probably the best marketing program I've ever run in my life.
And there we go. That was the birth of content marketing.
Right now, actually, on our website, if you go to the search engine relationship chart, you can go and search for it. It brings you to a flash, believe it or not, flash, historical. There's a slider bar, and you can see every one of the charts from the beginning until right up now. Of course, right now there's only 5 circles on it. Google, Yahoo, Bing, and a couple of small guys, and that's about it. So it hasn't changed much.
Right on.
Yeah, thank you. Real quick, thanks to Chelsea Adams for dropping that link into our comment stream. Appreciate that. It got a little cut off here, but it's bruceclay.com/search engine relationship chart.htm. So thank you very much for that, Chelsea. Really appreciate it. Also, real quick, can I give a quick couple of shout outs before we kind of move on? Because we got a lot of great activity today for your first hangout today, Bruce. So just want to give a couple thank yous to Kristen Drysdale, Denise Wakeman, Jason Weiser, Zara Altair, Paula Allen, you guys, obviously your company, you know, and myself, we all tweeted about the show, which we really appreciate that, using the G+Spotlight hashtag. And hello in the audience to Bill Ashton and Sheila Hensley, because you guys have kind of been chatting it up over there. So, all right, I've interjected. Back to you guys now. Back to the throwback. I feel like this should have been like a Throwback Thursday discussion here, though, although we're doing this on a Wednesday.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, Bruce, a lot of us, you know, a lot of SEO people started, you know, obviously in the early days. And, yeah, I think one of the things that really made you kind of stand out, and something that's really different about what you did, is that you built an entire tool set and a whole training program around your business as well. You want to tell everybody a little bit about that?
Well, I had a marketing philosophy of a couple of things. One, if you have been to our website, which, by the way, we are replacing the entire SEO tutorial in 30 days or less. But if you've been to our website, you'll know that what we do is we just give away information. We've always had a website that wasn't just here to sell you things. It was to educate you. About probably 16 years ago, maybe 14, in that range, we developed our first course because it became obvious to us as we started to acquire clients that the clients could barely spell SEO, let alone have an intelligent conversation to us about how the project is going. So we developed a course, and made it available. And in the beginning, it was the kind of thing you would just sit around, 6 people around a conference table and had a couple of handouts. And now I teach the course at the 3 SMX conferences in one day, and I do a full week course here in Southern California, which right about now I think the Northeast would really want to take. The weather kind of makes Southern California look attractive at this time, considering it's like 75 degrees out right here. So I developed the course many, many years ago. In parallel to that, I think, actually even a little before that, when we were doing optimization, I discovered there weren't really any tools at all to do it, especially the kind of tools we needed. We did slice and dice kinds of things. And so we developed tools. Not all of them worked right. Some of them, had a mind of their own, and I got in trouble a couple times. But none of them were designed for spam. They just didn't work right. But we developed tools, and over the years we've enhanced them and enhanced them and enhanced them. And where we're at right now, also by January, we're going to release version 6 of our tools. And it includes an awful lot of stuff. I mean, it includes data from Majestic. We're pulling data from a custom API from Google. The ranking data is actually paid for by Google. Our ranking monitor runs at 5,000 words a minute, which is, but when you pay Google, they let you do that.
Yeah.
We have page analyzers. We have a site crawler and analyzer that runs pretty aggressively. The largest site we've actually tried to spider is 2.5 million pages. So it's a very large, detailed spider, and all the data integrates across our tool set. So we're about to release that, and we're trying to price it economically. So we priced it around $45 a domain. So I mean, it's, for $1.50 a day, anybody that's in the SEO business or in-house can afford to optimize their site. And that goes along with where I think the market is going anyhow. So we've got a brand new tool set due out. It took 2.5 years to develop and cost me, I don't know, almost $1 million to build. So, but I wasn't going to release it until I was happy with it. And for what you know about me, I'm really picky. And I wasn't in a rush. So we've been developing all sorts of really cool features and enhancements, and it does what it's supposed to do. So that's really good. So that's our new tools, and the new tools come with training. So when you take our training course, it'll cost X amount of dollars, depends on which course you take. We give you tools where the subscription price of the tools is actually about the same as the course. So what we find is anybody that wants the tools and wants to use them for a year, you might as well take the course and you get the tools for free, or you might as well get the tools and get the course. I mean, it doesn't matter which way you look at it. Our courses, we teach quite a few people. We probably teach, well, it depends, 600 to 1,000 people a year. We do a lot of on-site courses. But fundamentally, it goes back to our premise that if you really, really need to know how to do SEO, you need to find somebody that's in a knowledge transfer business that's going to answer questions, that's going to teach you. This is the same course we use on our own employees. That's going to give you power tools that nobody else has. Our tools are unlike everybody else's. They do a lot of stuff, we do it different. And therefore you should do it, and at $45 who wouldn't do it? And so all of this is centered on giving away the information and not being the center of the universe for anybody.
Right. Well, also, I think you're hitting on a lot of different points, and that is that when an SEO professional comes in, usually the CEO, the CMO have no clue what SEO is, and the SEO director, the manager, whoever it is, the social guy, don't know exactly how to translate it very well either. So you're you're hitting all of the different points. It's like, look, we'll give you the tools if you want to try it yourself. We'll give you the training, so that way you can explain it and you can do it. And then at the end of the day, if you're the right fit for us, because your prices are up here. If you're the right fit for us, then we can just do it for you.
Well, let me comment on that. Two things. One, we have a free course designed for executives, because what we have found is a lot of SEOs have bosses that can't spell SEO. You know, these things called CMOs and vice presidents, and you know, they're traditional marketers. There's a lot of companies out there that are very much cigar smoking, backroom deal makers running marketing and sales that don't really embrace this thing called the internet and don't really know how to use a phone yet. And those people need to be oriented, not really trained to be SEOs, but they need to have an idea what it does and what it could do. So for free on our website, we give away a 111-minute course designed really targeting executives, just so an SEO can get their boss to figure this out, right? It's not so much how do you do it, it's what is it, and why is it good for us? And so we've been giving that away. We've had 1,000 or so people go through that course. Pricing is something you raised, and in the history of SEO, pricing has been the hard part, and it's one of my real pets right now. So I want to sort of do a rant on that. We have two real kinds of people out there that buy SEO services. We have large organizations. These are people that are public companies that are close to it. They're hundreds of millions in revenue. And these are the people that wouldn't dare hire an SEO that didn't have service wrapped up one side, down the other, and when they say jump, you get on a plane. And those are the kinds of people that demand the service and are willing to pay for the service, and of course service comes with a fee. In our particular case, I'm in 12 suites. I have servers, I have software developers, I have an HR manager, human resources manager, I have a real live body receptionist, and it's all wrapped around the fact that I cannot be a work-at-home company. I need to actually service the people who are demanding the service and are willing to pay for it. And at that rate, what we've done is we've developed our rates around, to some degree, that client, and we've tried to keep it lower by regulating the amount of energy we put into a project. Given that we will not sacrifice quality, there's only price and speed. So the way we've historically tried to take middle SMB type people is we have slowed down the project and thereby lowering their total monthly bill. Are we the highest? We aren't. We've tested that. Are we the lowest? Certainly not. The people that can beat us at the low end, and everybody sees this, and I'm sure the people listening know this, the people that can beat us at the low end are the people that work out of their homes, that are running virtual organizations, that don't have servers, don't have phone systems, don't have HR managers, don't have physical suites, they don't require people to do a lot of stuff. And the client that is in the $1,000 a month plus or minus range, they're willing to say, if you don't call me back until tomorrow, I can live with that. Or they're willing to say, I know your company phone is a cell phone, and I know you're on DSL, and I know your server's shared somewhere, not a rack in the back office. And they're prepared for that in order to get the value statement that they don't have to pay, you know, $10,000 a month or whatever the higher end rates are for the service that they don't demand. They demand expertise, they demand results, but you don't have to wrap it up and put a bow on it like you do to public companies. And around that, we've actually started developing a product called Localware, which is catering to virtual-based companies except using our methodology and our tools. And we're packaging that. It'll be out towards the end of first quarter. We're running a pilot soon with a number of agencies that want to be in our network. Now, to give you an example, I probably get 4 to 6, out of all my inquiries a day, I probably get 4 or 6 people that want to hire us, just don't want to pay us. They'll pay $1,000, they won't pay $4. They don't need the service. Happy to pay $1,000. We absolutely want you. We've already decided we want you. We've been to your website. You're the one we want to hire. We just can't afford it. And that is the Localware client. And so we're going to actually be generating for free. We're going to give those leads to people that are in our network, because the people in our network we know are going to cater to them the same way we would. They're just a virtual company and not what we are. I don't think that's going to compete at all with what we do, because these smaller businesses are really 2, 3, 4 people. You know, these people are not the kind of people that attend what I do. This year I attended 13 conferences so far. These are not people that would do that.
Right, exactly.
That's an investment, right? That's a big deal to these people. The people that are our clients range from mom and pops on up. We charge it around $3,200 a month on up to $90,000 a month. It really depends on who the customer is. We like small companies. We really do. We prefer small companies. I'd say probably 2/3 of our companies are small, 40 people or less companies. But they need marketing and they can't afford to be second class. And that's the kind of people we get here for a business. But the Localware thing is absolutely, hey, you know, I'm not going to send them to a spammer. I have to send them somewhere. I'll give it to somebody that uses tools. I get the tool revenue then. But rather than burn the customer, I'll give it to somebody I trust. So that's a big deal.
That's the big takeaway right there, Bruce, is that you're giving it to somebody that you trust, and that's delivering value at the end of the day.
Exactly right. By the way, that goes hand in hand with the shift for 2015. Before we started, I mentioned, I said 2015 is half over. I know it hasn't started yet, but you know, when you look at the future, and I'm a big believer in futures research, when you look at the future, we know 80% of everybody's going to do searches from mobile devices. Just the way life is. And when you're looking at it at that level, one of the things that we have to be concerned about is if you're using mobile devices, and that means everybody has one, that means everybody is going to be more aware that they need a web presence, because they're doing it. They're using a mobile device. And that means that the demand is going to be much higher. And the part that's sort of strange about the phenomenon is that so many websites have existed over the last 15 years that are not mobile ready. And as you may have recalled, Google actually put out a mobile testing tool yesterday. Yep. And on a mobile device, if you do a Google search, it actually says, I think it says mobile ready, or
it says mobile ready, and tells you at the bottom, if it's not mobile ready, it shows you exactly why you're not mobile ready.
The tool will show you why you're not mobile ready, like the links are too small and the fingers won't work. I mean, things like that.
Yep.
So our site, when the tool came out, we ran our site through, and it came out saying, awesome. They use that word across the top. It says awesome. So I do a mobile search, and it actually says mobile ready, or whatever the word is, right at the top of the search results next to our entry. I think that's going to totally sway mobile click-throughs organically. I think that's going to be a big deal, because if I'm on a mobile device and the site is not mobile ready, why click that one? I think that's going to change everything. But because mobile ready is going to become so important, we're finding that established sites that are not responsive, that are not mobile ready, or even if they thought they were and they fail the test, I'm expecting a massive influx of millions of websites that are already out there and have been out there for years to go into redesign mode. And I am getting an influx of people saying, as they should, I'm not going to bother to redesign it unless I can build SEO into it. That has totally lit up our lead pattern, which is all the more reason to push out a localware, because we have test tools for that people are going to need in order to make the sites what they're supposed to be. And I think that's going to change everything.
That's pretty awesome. And we actually, by the way, we have Don Larson in the audience that's asked, how do we purchase localware?
Well, right now we're doing a preliminary approach, but localware, actually we're messing around with descriptions to see what people like. I would say it probably won't be available until later in the first quarter, but as of right now, if you went to localware.com, of course, I've owned that domain for years. I knew local was coming. As I said, futures research. And it will go to its own website ultimately, and it'll be fully built up and descriptive, and it'll be a powered by, but it'll be whatever the person wants their SEO to be, but it'll just have all the tools and all the support. It'll be great.
Yeah. So I mean, local obviously important. Like we were talking about mobile, responsive to design. We know that Google, I mean, heck, even Matt came out and said this at SMX. He said, our mobile initiative is big. You better pay attention. SSL everywhere, the Internet of Things, semantic search. So we haven't talked about semantic search yet, or schema. How are you helping companies kind of get prepared for that? And what kind of Bruce wisdom could you give to people about semantic and knowledge box?
Well, knowledge is great. There's a couple of things going on, I think, all at the same time. Shopping is changing. The pay-per-click components are changing, and we have some advanced technology in the pay-per-click space that actually manages bids for you every 30 minutes. Great stuff, lowers your CPA, won't come shopping, it shows up in there, you can manage it, and then Google changes everything. There were some announcements that were quickly, looked like they were reversed by Google, where the shopping slider, if you will, is going to appear more like places entries, where there are actually a three-pack with images on the left, and you can see the details on the right. I view that as being an opportunity for Google now to start dominating the organic side of the search results and start selling things into their directory, not the organic results. We have to understand, by the way, that places entries, although they have an algorithm, pay-per-click has an algorithm, those things are not organic. It's not based on public trust information. You opt into them. You provide data. You feed Google. Therefore, Google has a right to put ads in it. I think that's going to, by the mid of 2015, I think that's going to radically change the way the search result page looks. So the shopping entries are radically going to be more like pay-per-click, except they're going to have the images. They're going to be embedded into the organic side. You're going to find that, take mobile again. If you're mobile ready, you actually, and Google has admitted that sites that are mobile ready, they will promote higher into the search results algorithmically. I like that because I came up as awesome. I like that idea. But we spent a lot of time making it mobile ready. But as soon as that happens there, I can see that happening elsewhere. The algorithm is the algorithm, and paid will not influence the algorithm, but that doesn't mean the directory won't. And there's no obligation until there are ads in there for Google to do much else about it. I think that, anyhow, the bottom line is I think everything's going to change in the first half of next year. The only thing that actually is certain is change. We're going to see radical changes, A to Z, across the board. Everything's going to be disrupted. And we're just going to have to put up with it.
And it's going to happen at a much faster pace. I mean, we've already seen this year the number of changes that have come about have just been completely dramatic. And like you said, you're seeing it just on the inbound side. Then
Sure.
more and more people are just coming in and saying, oh my God, we need help. And that's going to probably accelerate at even faster rate next year. What kind of surprises or predictions could you make for next year? What do you think is going to happen that we kind of haven't heard about yet and there might not be too much of an inkling about?
Well, I can tell you that mobile is going to continue to grow, but there's an inkling there. We touched a little bit on the concept of schema. So let me talk a little bit about that. Schema, by the way, doesn't really work the way you think it works. If you're using schema to define an object, then Google has that data, and they can use it for their knowledge information. How tall is the Eiffel Tower? Google can answer for you. So, you know, you don't have to go anymore to these sites that just have facts. And that means that the sites are going to be things that are more entertaining than Google could possibly do on their search result page. And I see that engagement is going to radically go up as a result of schema giving Google facts. That means that the sites, in order to compete, can't be fact-based. They have to be entertainment-based. They have to be more engaging. So I think that the way people build sites are going to change. I think that maintenance, believe it or not, I believe maintained websites are going to see an increase in rankings. And if you haven't updated your site in 5 years, it's time. It's going to radically change. I think Google is going to pay attention to even what font you're using, and if it isn't a mobile-ready font, you're going to get penalized for that because it isn't going to look pretty on a mobile device. I think we're going to see those kinds of things. Schema, by the way, there's different kinds of schema. There's schema that would be used for reviews, markups, you know, get the star rating. There's the schema that you would have for videos. Used to have the video thumbnail show up. There's a schema for Google markup, which is the kind of dates for future events and things like that. All of that was hierarchical. What I found on my page, because I had a page with all of it on there, because we experiment with everything, I found that the video was there and the stars weren't and the markup wasn't. As soon as Google removed the video, the markup showed up and the stars didn't. Even though the stars have a better impact on conversion than the markup was showing up in the results, not as bolded or anything special, but the stars didn't. So I had my team go in, even though we had already marked it up, we removed the markup, and now the stars show up. So apparently there's a pecking order for how it shows up, even influencing your own search results. And if you're describing objects, you still have the issue of how is Google going to learn from that, and at what point is Google going to be the repository of all knowledge and no longer needing us? I don't think that's an answer for 2015, but I do think that we ought to be aware that this is a two-edged sword. The more schema we use, the more we describe objects the same way everybody else describes the objects, the less Google needs us because they have more votes saying this is the right answer, and they can present that.
What do you think about automated learning? Almost the artificial intelligence of Google, in other words. You think that's coming next decade?
Well, a decade is a long time. You give Google, you know, $5 billion a month, I think Google can figure out almost anything they want. We haven't quite figured out where it's going. So for those of you that don't know, I bought a 2014 Stingray Corvette. And for those of you that want to be envious, I put a 650 horse Tennessee supercharger on it. I can spin the tires at 50 miles an hour. Anyhow, I talk to that car. It answers me. I can tell it what to do. It'll change the radio station. It'll find addresses for navigation just by me speaking to the car. What do you think is going to happen in a few years? I mean, that's just been a few years, and it totally changed the way we engage with computers at every level. I think that we're going to see speech interaction drive artificial intelligence, not the other way around. And until we really get speech working better, I don't think you're going to see Google go that far off the beaten path. It still has to respond to a user request. But it's inevitable that we'll eventually get to a point where that works seamlessly. When I think of speech interaction, I think of, you know, talking to the computer on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Natural language. Star Trek, after all, had the first iPad. And they had the first talking computers, and they, you know, the big screen TVs, and I mean, all of that stuff was there. I think it's just evolutionary, not revolutionary at this instant.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on the natural language interpretation and being able to, for really, I mean, well, for Google to be able to understand exactly what your intent is and what your meaning is, and while you're doing any kind of search. I mean, Google now is of course the perfect example of that, and it works, and it works very well. I mean, as a matter of fact, I just saw an infographic that came out that said, you know, more and more people that I think are in the age range of 15 to 35 are actually very comfortable speaking into their mobile phones in public.
Well, for a long time, you didn't know it actually was a phone. You thought it was a texting device. I don't know if you read it. The way I learned to push a doorbell was like that. If you ask somebody that's 15 years or younger to do it, they use their thumb. They actually did that survey.
Interesting.
Well, folks, that means that these devices are part of everyday life. 2-year-olds can turn on an iPad and you know, play games. We're going to get to a point where certainly 10 years from now, everybody that's in the workplace are the people that are today thumb users. We're going to see radical changes in interaction. We just have to adapt to it. And, you know, I'll tell you right now, I think in our industry, if you can't adapt, you lose.
It all comes back to becoming adapting or becoming irrelevant. And by the way, I'm all thumbs.
There you go.
You are all thumbs, Ben. No, Bruce, great point. I like to make the talk about how the younger people now. You're right. I mean, they're going to end up in the workforce and things like that. But I'll never forget. Like my daughter, this is a few years ago. I had one of the original Kindles where you had a little button on each side to advance and go back on the pages, and she she was reading with me, and all of a sudden she just went like this because it was time to turn the page, and I'm like, well, no. You have to press the button. She looked at me like I had two heads. What is this button business? Like, it's just, and when we see, I think, you hit at a core point. I mean, especially in the web business part of things, design and all of the mobile and everything like that. I think there's a movement really more toward just a very natural experience. And if you have to focus on anything, I mean, Bruce, this is sort of at the heart of what you were talking about earlier. For businesses next year, like focus on the experience. Focus on the experience that you can give your customer through and through, from everything from your email to your landing pages to your website to how you present yourself on social and across the board. The more you can do that, again, through and through in an integrated fashion, the more relevant you become, the more trustworthy you become, and and you're creating a great experience for your users. They'll start to recommend you more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one way, I guess, also to kind of battle the algorithmic stuff that keeps changing on us every day, is to just do great business and treat your customers right and give them a great experience. And I think now, and you're kind of reinforcing it to me at least. I think now we're starting to see that come to a head, where before it was a little bit more on the edge, but now I think we're really starting to see this become a very natural expression of how people want to interact with companies and websites and information today.
I think you're right, and I think back 10 years ago. One person could be your internet marketing department 10 years ago. You did the Google thing, bought some pay-per-click, social wasn't a big deal, one person could do it. User interaction, yeah, we had to worry about conversion. But one person could do it. Now we're dealing with social is like an industry. SEO is clearly more technical today than it even was a year ago, and it's getting more technical day to day because there's more and more that goes into the algorithm and influences. You're having higher competition rates. The number of results that come up for a query is going up exponentially as the spider's getting smarter, and as Google is changing penalty rules, and I mean SEO is a bigger thing, pay-per-click. You can no longer have a human manage your bids. If you don't have some automation in there, you're going to be last. This, I'm going to change my bids once a day, is like trying to hit a moving target with a cannon that you can only fire once. Okay? That isn't the way you do pay-per-click anymore. You want to succeed, you have to have a product like we have that changes bids every half hour. And it follows action that people, you know, announcements and weather and the things that influence your environment. You have to be able to do that. As a result, you really can't do one person anymore. And yes, I think absolutely that the experience is going to be a very, very big thing. In Google's quality guidelines, there's EAT, expertness, authority, trust. Then, sort of an umbrella, but not as important, is maintenance. If you can't maintain your website, why should a user care? Right? You're still using tables. You haven't designed your site again for the last 8 years. Your history. That's a bad user experience. Right? You're not using current technology. You're not using current fonts. How can your data be good? And that influences so many different things across the board. I think internet marketing, which is all of the main disciplines, there's 6 of them, all of them are becoming far more technical, deeper. They're going down far more technically, and they're broadening and becoming codependent upon each other, all at the same time that all this technical information is becoming dependent upon core marketing knowledge. 99% of the people doing SEO are programmer-type people. They're problem solvers. They're happier with a Rubik's Cube than a marketing spreadsheet. And what we're going to need to do is build an internet marketing organization that understands marketing, that understands user experience, that understands how to influence people and get them to like you, because it isn't enough just to rank. It's becoming more codependent upon everything that you experience. And you're absolutely right. I think experience is where the pendulum is swinging right now, but I think that the depth of all of the technical disciplines is continuing to go deeper and deeper and deeper. The thing that is probably the most worrisome about it is what happens if Google continues to hide information from consumers and SEOs and marketing agencies to the point where the only way to get anything done is just a guess. No attribution. When all attribution is gone and all tracking is gone, you just have to believe that by throwing money at it, you can solve it. That's, for us, that's a step back. For Google, that's revenue.
And that's a huge problem for business owners.
Today, we ought to know, if we are in the business of doing SEO or any kind of internet marketing, our careers today, to a great extent, were built by Google. We owe Google a lot of thanks for totally changing things every 8 hours, because it has kept our customers dependent upon us. And I, for one, recognize it and thank them. It's sort of a two-edged sword. We are dependent upon them to keep changing things so we stay in business, but it's really annoying when they change things poorly and hide information from us, so it's harder for us to do our job. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, things are more expensive. Over the years, people are paid more. If you're good at SEO, you're paid more, yet a lot of people don't want to pay more for the service. You know, it's kind of bad. Just a little rant. The number of people that were out there thinking SEO was links is devastating. It's like hiring somebody to just go out and get links for me as if that was SEO is a little bit like hiring an arsonist. You pay them, they get you these links, effectively burning down your house. Then Google comes around and says, okay, you got a fire, you don't have a house anymore, and you say, okay, I'm going to rebuild it, and you can't rebuild it for the same fee that you paid the guys to burn it down. Right? It always costs more to rebuild than to tear down. And so many companies have been burned by that. That annoys me. Sorry. Small rant.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I had somebody reach out to me. I have a news website that I own, and we don't sell links. We have no follow on every single link, all the best practices. And he came to me. He's like, "Are you selling any kind of links anymore?" He's like, "Are you doing that?" And I was like, I got onto a private chat with him immediately, and I'm like, "Dude, links? Really? You don't want to hurt yourself at this point right now. Don't go after links. That's so 5 years ago." But you're right. It's just like hiring an arsonist, which is why we're glad there's good SEO companies around. One thing I really quick before we wrap up, I just want to circle back on what you said, and that is that now the technical SEOs and marketers have to work together, and because there is definitely that technical aspect, and then there's the creative aspect, and business is now becoming a lot more human to human, and like you said, the experience is really what matters. So finding a great SEO team that can handle both aspects of those things, I think, is key for any business. So
I agree. I don't think, by the way, there aren't many. And one of the things that we're running into as an industry is we're running into the almost technical SEO companies that thought SEO was buying links, that as soon as Google slams down on links and they can't do that for a living anymore, what these SEOs did, because they weren't technical enough, they said SEO was dead, social media is where it's at, or content is where it's at, and they've switched to that, which is another area where they're incompetent. But they switched to that. I don't think our industry is out of the woods yet, no matter what Google is doing. But you're right. Technically, SEO is much harder than 2 years ago. Pay-per-click, you got to automate. SEO, you got to get the right tools. All that has to happen. I'll bet you that 90% of the people doing SEO have never had a course on SEO. They kind of hear rumors, or they sit in a forum and they listen to people. And a forum is a room full of people where somebody that doesn't know the answer asks a question, and other people that don't know the answer it. And I mean, if you have a great moderator, you might be better off. I think a lot of stuff has been improved by companies that care, that focus on community and answering things smart. Moz, good example. These are the kinds of things that really help the community, but there's a lot of people that are not in that boat, and I think it's still a shakeout. I think a real marketer that understands personas and can build personas, that understands communities and understands really the technical component of web history and the way instant implies things and trends. If you can understand the nuances and all the demographic data that goes into a keyword, and understand that if you had a project with 100 keywords, you have 100 projects. If somebody could understand that at a marketing level and deal with the technical staff at an SEO level, that's how you make a site work. That's our approach, and it works. And what I think we need to do is see everybody start doing that, because until everybody does it, most of the customers out there are going to say, hey, I hired an SEO company, they did nothing. I hired another one, they did nothing. I hired another one, they did nothing, because the companies aren't going to understand how to move the needle. They're just not going to invest. To Google, I know I keep talking here, guys, but to Google,
keep going, Bruce.
No money on organic clicks, right? They have to have it because that's why people go to Google. But when you click organically, Google doesn't make money on that. So Google has a rule. If I'm going to give you free traffic, you have to earn it. Pretty simple. Don't cheat us. Don't deceive PageRank. Don't spam us. Don't keyword stuff. Don't do the things that we've told you for years not to do, and we'll let you have free traffic. But if you're going to do those things to deceive us into giving you traffic, you're history. What is that? 50, 60% of all websites over the last 10 years have been built with that philosophy of cheating Google. And again, I think that 2015, we're half done just catching up for all the things that happened in 2014 and watching mobile and watching experience and paying attention to the things that matter. If you can pay attention as an SEO company, if you can pay attention to the things that matter, you can move the needle for any customer. And if one of my favorite sayings, and I use it in my class, don't be surprised by the results you do not get for the work you did not do.
That's a great statement.
The way it works. I mean, I kind of think like it's kind of tough to follow anything up on that one. You hit the nail right on the head, and it's interesting how we're going into like this holistic yet technical approach to to growing our businesses and staying visible online, and dealing with all these nuances. I love your point about if you have 100 keywords, you have 100 projects. That is so true. I mean, people go look up things like internet marketing. Not internet, integrated marketing, and you'll start to see. You learn a little bit about that. You see how deep and wide every single thing you do has to go in order to be successful in the first place. I mean, not just in search, but everywhere. And so, I think we're kind of getting to the point where, we knew we were going to go a little over today because there was so much to talk about. We really appreciate you coming on, Bruce. And amazing information. We're going to recap this up on our blog on GPLUSSPOTLIGHT.com. And I guess any last things you want us to, if we have to take one thing away as homework to make sure that we do, like either immediately or make sure that we have it in our plan for first quarter of next year, what to stay competitive here, what is that?
It's a pair. You have to have your website mobile ready and as fast as you can make it. I think if you don't do that, you're going to lose out on any rankings you might have ever been able to get. So I think you have to do that. You have to be prepared to invest. SEO is not free anymore. It isn't a part-time project. It isn't a part-time anything. You really have to invest to get the money out of your investment. Yeah, traffic is free, but it's only free if you pay for it.
And like you said, SEO is a marathon, not a dash.
You got it.
Yep. All right, cool, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for sticking around. This was a fantastic discussion. Feel free to keep leaving comments and questions, and we'll do our best to to keep up with them in the event. Want to thank Bruce as well and Ben for joining us today. Join our email list at gplusspotlight.com because we have a couple of weeks with the Thanksgiving break coming up before we can announce our next guest. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in, and for myself, Ben, and Bruce, we will see you guys around. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.